trust me. Airports are not a good place to look for private spots, I'll tell you that. But nevertheless, here we are. What better private spot than the staircase, right? This is America, after all. So I just got back from meet and greet. Or, well, I'm about to leave, actually. My plane doesn't take off until 10 o'clock. So I got like 8 hours to bum around. I got to find something to do, so maybe I'll give you a little bit of a recap of what I had thought. I didn't actually do that much stuff, to be honest, aside from Zelda, which, between standing in the line the first day and the third day, I probably spent 8 hours just standing in line for Zelda. So that's one day right there, basically. But I got to play it twice, which is good, and I got the t-shirt, and it's a very interesting game. I will be honest, I'm a little worried, but not for... Okay, let's just say, you gotta be careful with things like this, you know, with hype in general, because hype can kill something so fast. I mean, it's like, look, I want to say look at what it did to Undertale, but that's not really the point, because Zelda's not out yet, and they're still working on it for another 9 months before we get to play it. So the question really more is, like, what is... I don't know, what can we really expect? You know, I'm seeing, like, one of the first things I've noticed about it right off the bat is that there's a lot of collectibles. There are a lot of collectibles in Skyward Sword, too. But right off the bat, the game told you what they were for. You would go into the galley, you say, okay, you collect bugs to make potions. You collect, what even did you collect? Like, there are random supplies to upgrade your shield, your sword, or whatever else. But the stuff you get in this game is more like Stardew Valley style for survival. Like building a campfire, or even just using things as weapons. You pick up a tree branch and you use it as a weapon. You hit like 3 monsters with it and it breaks. You gotta find something else. You find swords, you find bows. There's a fire rod. I found the fire rod. Thanks, Pro Jared. I don't know how to do that weak English. I shouldn't have even tried to do it there. Stop it. Anyway. Well, yeah, it was fun. It was different. There's a lot of just running around. The stamina meter, when you first start out, runs out real fast. Like faster than Skyward Sword. You can run for about maybe 5 seconds. Now, if you run out the stamina meter to the point where it totally runs out, you don't like slow down the way you did in Skyward Sword, because in Skyward Sword, Link would go like, you know, you couldn't move hardly for like 3 seconds while it filled back up. Well, in this one, when it's filling back up, even if you run it all the way out, you could still basically move at a normal walking speed. You just can't hold it for very long. Like you can run for maybe 5 seconds. So I'm not sure. I'm guessing. I was told that you can upgrade that though. I think that gets upgraded later in the game. So it's something to think about. Most of the facts generally about the game, I think, have already been put out there somewhere. Like there's supposedly a lot to do, and apparently, they're not even done with the game yet. I mean, we're already seeing, you know. Oh, jeez, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. The world that we saw, actually, the section of the map was so big that it probably would take like hours, at least 3 or 4 hours to explore it all. But if this was the section of the map that we got to play, the actual map of the world is more like that. I mean, it was just right in the middle of this one little section. Maybe even, I would say probably less than maybe 5% of the world was what we saw. And I'm guessing it's only going to get bigger. I don't know. But now people have been clamoring at the claw, or what is it, foaming at the mouth for an open world Zelda game for how long now? And especially after Skyward Sword being so restricted with where you can go and how you can traverse between the 3 worlds. Because people are saying, well, they're going to bring it back to the first game, you know, bring it back to Zelda 1 where it just thrusts you out into the world and lets you do whatever you want. Now, you see, that works in an 8-bit game because there's only, well, I mean, I said this on Zelda Universe already, but there's like only so much you can do. There's 4 directions. There's rocks that take up, there's like 128 rocks per screen. There's only so many that you can do anything with. So many directions you can push them, or it's like so many rocks to push. And there's only so many, like if you're going to bomb a wall, see if there's a cave there, there's only so many squares that you can bomb before eventually you just run out. Now, I've noticed like that in every other Zelda game, though, if a wall was bombable, you could see that it was bombable. You wouldn't just randomly throw a bomb any old where and expect to see something. So I suspect that what's going to happen, you're doing it again, you're sliding. I suspect that there are going to be parts of this game, walls that you can bomb that you'll have no indication that you'd be able to do it. And I also suspect there will be other ones where it will tell you that you can do it. But the question is, where do you draw the line? How much direction do they give the player before it becomes, like, because you have to give them something. You don't want it to be totally overwhelming, but maybe you do. You know, people talk about Zelda 1, they always say, oh, how was I supposed to know to do this or that? But what a lot of them don't know is that back then, in the 80s, when you bought the game, it actually came with a map, partially filled in already. It told you where the first dungeon was, how to get to it, and what to do when you got there. So, and then you could just fill in the rest of the map with a pen and paper, or with a marker or whatever. And I did that, and it didn't take that long. So it's not like the game was so, obtuse, or it's not like the game was so cryptic that you just had no idea what to do. It gave you some idea, because that was back in the days when manuals were physical. They did put the manual in the game. Nowadays, it's like instruction manuals, physical instruction manuals, that's like a thing of the past. Nowadays, the game teaches you how to do it by giving you tutorials in the game. If it's in the game, it's hands-on experience. You're not reading some book that's telling you what to do. You're actually doing it. And, I'm getting way off track here, but anyway. I think the biggest thing is that we getting used to was using Y to swing the sword. You use Y to swing the sword. I thought that was weird. I also noticed weapons fall apart really fast. So, but again, that's just probably because you're at the beginning of the game, so it doesn't really matter. Probably later in the game you'll be able to get weapons that don't break. And if there is a Master Sword, I have to assume it doesn't break. But if you're going to have the mechanic of weapons breaking in the game at all, then, that becomes totally obsolete the moment you get the Master Sword. So when do you get the Master Sword? It have to be like totally towards the end. I'm totally listening my ass off today. I just had a turkey gun. I got a little bit left. My turkey sandwich here. It was good, too. For airport food, not bad, I'm telling you. I've been sitting here for like 45 minutes. I've only seen like 2 people come up and down here. So, whatever. It definitely looks interesting, though, I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to it. So, but aside from Zelda, I didn't look at that much. I got a little bit of a look at Castlevania Bloodstained, which some of you might know, it's actually a game that I'm sort of involved in. Actually, about 9 months ago, I got an email offering to, like, if I promoted the game, I could actually be a part of it. And at some point, I get to design a weapon that goes into the game, and that's later. So, but actually, I got to see part of that game. I didn't actually get to play it. I had to watch, because it was down to the last hour, and I didn't know where it was. And went all the way down to the other hall thinking it was over there, and I just got all lost. Eventually, I found it. It looks pretty cool. From what it looked like to me, it kind of looked like Castlevania meets Super Ghouls and Ghosts a little bit. There was a ship kind of level, and there was this giant kraken with boobs, and it was pretty funny. You'll actually see that in the footage, maybe, if I put that in. It was a pretty short section. I might not. I don't know. The game that keeps sticking out in my mind, aside from Zelda, is Dragon Quest Builders. That's basically Minecraft meets The Secret of Mana. They just made love and birthed this beautiful thing, and I really am anxious to see what they do with that, because that totally seems like my kind of game. You wouldn't know it, but I actually love the idea of Minecraft. I don't play it very much because all the cool stuff takes too much time to do, honestly. I mean, there's people out there that made replicas of the Starship Enterprise, Mother Earth, and, I did the Guts Dozer, but that took me a week just to do that. There's people that have done stuff that are way cooler than that. I don't even know at this point, but anyway. So that looks pretty cool. I didn't see much of it, and again, I didn't play it either because I did a lot more watching than I did playing this year, let's put it that way. I watched the demonstration for Final Fantasy 15. That looks better than it did last year. They were a little more specific about how the battles work, and this whole thing with you like being able to jump up and just hang on to a pole anytime you want to, I still don't get that. Like, you can just do that anytime you want, just heal yourself. I mean, that's cheating, isn't it? I don't know. So there must be something I don't know about that, like a limited number of times you can do it or something. I don't know. You keep falling off, I'm telling you, man. My poster at Zelda Symphony on Monday night. I haven't seen it yet, but well, I saw it in the concert hall. It looks cool, and I didn't have one, so I got one. I've been carrying it around like a lightsaber all day, just to kind of put it up in my room. But yeah, other than that, let me see. I saw a couple of cool indie games. There was Cuphead was there again. It was there last year, and it's there again this year. Looks cool. I played the new Ace Attorney. That looks good. That looks really good. Okay, here's the thing. The prosecutor. So this game takes place in another country where the courts are totally brutal and they're not very accommodating to defense lawyers and all that. You know how those games are, though. Phoenix always finds himself somewhere he doesn't belong, somewhere where everybody hates him, somewhere where his profession is looked down upon and all that. So in this one, he's in a new country, and there's no defense lawyer. So this kid gets accused of murdering someone, and you have to defend the kid. Now, in the demo that I played, there's only like 3 little questions you have to answer, basically sections in the case. So they didn't give away too much, thankfully. But the thing of this game is, the prosecutor, I don't know if she's like the main prosecutor, but the prosecutor is like some kind of psychic seance. What she can do basically is she can see what was happening to a person in the last 5 or 10 seconds before they die. She can tap into their memory, I guess, or something. So what you have to do is figure out how her testimony contradicts the facts. So what it is like this guy's getting murdered by a kid, or so we think. And maybe while he's getting murdered, he hears a song in the background. So that would be on his sense of hearing in the last, last moments of his life. And you'll say well, objection, because that song is only supposed to play at noon, but you said he was murdered in the morning. Why would he be hearing this song if it wasn't, if it was only 10 in the morning? And then they'll come back and say, well, no, see, they were doing a practice run of the song. That's why he heard the song in the background, because they were doing a practice run of it. So then you're like, oh, shoot, that's no good. Then you have to find something else, and that's how Phoenix Wright games work, but it was very interesting. So I'm pretty anxious to see where they go with that. I'm not going to be able to play it when it comes out, because there's no way I'm going to get through all these games. I mean, I suppose I could, but there's no way I'll be able to post all of it, is the thing. Really kind of blows, but I could record it first. You know what? No, I'm not going to talk about that right now. I don't think there was much of anything out there. Was the chicken fingers were good. The cheeseburgers were good. Props to you people in the kitchen for making good cheeseburgers and good chicken fingers. Props to the cashiers for ringing us up nice and fast and getting us through the line. Props to all the line managers and the girls in Nintendo doing the Zelda. Y'all were fantastic. You were really into it. I could tell that one girl that was doing it all like ASMR at the end there. Because what it is when you would stand in line to play the game, you'd come in and they'd sit you down in this little room. It's like enclosed and it's really dark. And they would show this huge big screen, and it had like a demonstration of stuff you could do in the game. And at the end, the screen lifted up like a curtain. And then you could walk through and into the actual world where all the games were set up and you could play them. But there was stuff everywhere, moblins, like campfires, and they had the cooking pot with the food jumping up and down out of it. And they had just about everything. And you could smell stuff. They had little smell machines of something. It's basically smell-o-vision. Zelda smell-o-vision. Smell a game and something. You can't get much better, man. I tell you, they really went all out with this. But I guess if you're going into E3 with one game, you might as well go all out with it, huh? Yeah, but they did great. Everyone off for me emotionally. And last year was too. Oh, shut up, dude. You know, I mean, I stood there in that Zelda line for 3.5 hours one day, 3.5 hours, 4 hours, whatever it was, 2 different days. But it wasn't Zelda that I was thinking about in that line, I'll tell you that. There's bigger things going on than that. And I don't mean to be so dramatic about it, you know, but, you know, emotions are a funny thing, you can't always control them. You just, you know, you don't choose what you feel sometimes, you know, and if I had to control, the only thing you can really control is, you know, to what extent you act on those emotions, you know. That's all you can really do. In many ways, I find that emotions are kind of like money. It's like they're no good if you don't spend them, you know. So you could have $50,000 sitting in the bank, but what good is it going to do you if you're not? I mean, sure, it's a nice emergency fund, you know, it gives you peace of mind, but what if 10 years goes by and nothing bad happens? Then what if you could have spent that money somewhere? What if you could have done something with that? You know, and maybe made your life better for that 10 years. I mean, you don't know. Nobody ever knows. Seeing all the people, being with all the people, seeing all the smiling faces, the happy exchanges, the cooperation, the camaraderie. It's an amazing thing to see, you know. I'm going to go ahead and recharge my laptop. So, you guys take care, and I'll get over this. Don't worry. In a week, I'll probably be like, back to playing my Plants vs. Zombies or whatever I'm doing. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you again real soon. Eventually, we get to this on the 40 years vlog, and probably have to tell this whole story